This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and got milk? Okay, this is really a review of the Kindle Oasis 3, which follows up from, as you can guess, the Kindle Oasis and the Kindle Oasis 2. The big new add here is the warm front lights. So it now has 25 front light LEDs, and you've got about half of them are white light and half of them are warm light. To me, that's actually a big deal. As somebody who used a Kindle Voyage for 5 years, and I thought you're going to have to pry that out of my hands, you know. Well, one thing I didn't like about the Voyage, even though it's become a legendary e-reader for a lot of reasons, nice piece of hardware there, I didn't like the bluish-white backlighting on that. It looks sort of sickly fluorescent, and the fact that it was uneven. So those problems are solved. We're going to look at it now. So with Amazon products, you're either going to love them or you're going to hate them. Some people love Amazon. They want to do everything through Amazon, and that is the signature thing with Kindles, right? It's easy to get a million different books, download them directly on your device, whether it's via Wi-Fi or you can get the Wi-Fi plus LTE 4G models. You've got comics as well. You can sideload stuff, and I do that. You can convert formats like EPUB if you want to Mobi and put PDFs on there, that sort of thing. Of course, the bad thing about Amazon is they're the gorilla in the industry, so oh, poor Kobo and poor Nook, who are kind of just fighting back and trying to struggle along there. That said, Amazon does make a decent product at a decent price. So the Oasis line is their cream of the crop, top of the line. So this starts at $249, which for an e-reader these days is considered expensive. For a lot of people, the Paperwhite 4 is going to make more sense monetarily. You can save yourself more than $100 going with the Paperwhite 4, but the Oasis 3 does add things on. Both of them have the 300 ppi flush displays, which is really very nice. I don't like recessed screens anymore, especially if you actually use the touch screen on it to swipe pages and all that sort of thing. The indentation is kind of annoying. It has the physical page turn buttons, which I like. Capacitive buttons, I wasn't really a fan of those because it was accidental touches, you know, and oh no, I turned the page when I didn't mean to. So dedicated buttons are nice on the spine, I guess you would call it, or the lumpy section of it. It has a 7-inch screen, so a little extra screen real estate over the usual 6-inch Kindle. And I like that too, because you get more words on the page, or if you're older, your eyes aren't so good, you can go for larger fonts. That's nice. Also, for those of you who do read PDFs or comics on this, it makes it a little bit more readable. It's still ideally an even bigger screen device, or maybe an IPS display is better for things like comics. You got color going on and all that sort of thing. If you are reading comics, though, one neat feature that they have is you can tap on a comic pane, and that will enlarge the pane to be full screen to make it more readable. You can tap again, go out to the full page view. This is a glass display, which was true of the last generation Oasis, and it has more clarity to it and picks up fingerprints less. I was actually surprised when I put the Paperwhite 4 side by side with the Oasis 3 that I found the Oasis 3 looked more clear. It probably is because of that glass. You'll notice it particularly on book covers, where the illustration looks really crispy on the Oasis 3 and sometimes looks a little bit more muddy on the Paperwhite. Of course, the basic Kindle is the most muddy. This is still water resistant. That's where the name Oasis came from, and so is, in fact, the Paperwhite 4. So if you need that feature, you can go either way. This one is the only all-metal chassis one, and it's the skinniest, except for that spine region, or whatever you want to call it, the lumpy thing on the side. Yeah, now, you can flip the screen. It rotates 180 degrees, so you can have that on the left or on the right, left-handed, right-handed friendly. This is nice. Yes, it looks classy. It feels premium, and that's fine, though. I confess I don't care that much when it comes to an ebook reader about that, but you might. But the drawback is, as ever, it's metal, so it's kind of slippery, and boy, does it get cold in the winter and chill your hands. By the way, if you have an Oasis 2, the only reason you would probably think about upgrading is for that warm front light, if that sounds like something exciting to you. But your flip cover that they made for the Oasis 2 actually doesn't line up with the magnets position for the Oasis 3. Bummer that. It has all the features you'd expect from a Kindle. Again, you can get it with Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi plus 4G LTE if you want. 8 gigs or 32 gigs of storage. 8 gigs holds an immense amount of books. I have 150 books on my Kindle. It's taking up about 300 megabytes to give you an idea. So unless you're putting a lot of comics or PDFs that tend to be bigger on there, probably 8 gigs would actually be fine for you. So for the book reading features, you've got quite a good selection of fonts. You've got different point sizes. You can adjust not only how much back or front light rather there is, but the color temperature of it. Now, the auto brightness on this works really very well. So you can manually override that if you want, but I didn't really find that I needed to do that. It is compatible with library books. I think EPUB is still the king there with Overdrive, but there are plenty available in Mobi as well. If you're really into the Overdrive public library lending experience, well, Kobo has really tight integration there, including borrowing directly from the home screen on your e-reader. That's something that Amazon still doesn't have. While we're talking about competitors, there's the Nook Glow Light Plus, which has a bigger screen, 7.8 inches, and it's 300 ppi, and it has a temperature adjustment too. Not as even on the backlighting. The thing I always worry about with the Nook series is, well, you have to hope that B&N manages to stay afloat. Their software is also a little bit buggier, especially when it comes to PDF, so I get a little less excited, much as I like their standard EPUB platform a lot. Back to the Kindle, it has inverted mode, so if you don't want to bug your partner in bed at night, you can have it be a black screen with white letters, for example. It does support audio, so mostly for Audible books, and that's via Bluetooth. There is no headphone jack on this one. Mind-numbing as this is, and I know it's upset a bunch of people, it still has a mini USB connector, you know, the old kind of style from several years ago. That's what they're still rolling with at Amazon. Everybody thought with this refresh they'd move up to USB-C, so that's one less cable you have to take with you if you want to transfer books by side loading or if you want to charge it. Speaking of charging, you do get that little mini USB to USB-A cable in the box. You do not get a charger, which is how Amazon's been rolling for a long time now. Speaking of charging, battery life on this is pretty good. The Oasis 2 did not have a reputation for being really an amazing stamina kind of e-reader, though any e-reader has amazing stamina compared to a laptop or a smartphone. But they have increased capacity by about 100 milliamps. And I think they've done some other optimizations too, because battery life on this compared to my Kindle Voyage, for example, is pretty darn decent. I typically read for an hour a day, and I have gone a week without having to plug it in yet. You probably go a week and a half, 2 weeks doing that easily enough. Well, Amazon always comes up with their hyperbole about this is our best e-ink screen ever. I cannot see a visual difference between the e-ink screen quality on this versus the Oasis 2. For those of you who do have a Kindle Voyage, which has become so legendary in some of our minds that we just hate to give it up, I was a little worried about actually saying goodbye to my Voyage. And honestly, I think the screen looks better on the Oasis 3. It looks a little finer and a little bit crisper, and it has plenty of contrast, so I wouldn't worry about that upgrade. Speaking of that, one of the ways Amazon takes an expensive e-reader and makes it more palatable is by trying to keep you loyal. So they have things like trade-in programs. If you trade in an older Kindle, they give you 25% off the price, so that's a significant savings, and they'll give you something for your trade-in. The thing about that Amazon trade-in program, you know, you can sell them back your gear too, is they used to be pretty awesome, and lately I find that more and more they don't want to give you full value for things for not always the best reasons. So this versus the Paperwhite 4, for me personally, what it comes down to is the Paperwhite 4 is easier to hold. It's not as wide a device. I'm not fond of its plastic screen cover, but then again, it's probably a little harder to break it. But I would pick the Oasis for clarity any day. And lastly, there's that front lighting. I'll take 25 LEDs and the warm lighting on the Oasis any day over the 5 bluish-white LEDs on the Paperwhite 4. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos. And thumbs up if you like this vid.